Hello, Safehouse
Hello,
family.
Safehouse. What's going on?
We are
We
back.
are back and I'm happy. I said I'm happy.
There's the song.
Yes.
There,
Figured I'd start out singing, that way people would know that I'm happy today. Yes.
she's always happy. Her theme song is "Everything Is Awesome." For those of y'all that
Yes.
saw the Lego movie,
Everything is awesome.
everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Yay. And this guy is definitely a part of my team. Yes. I am
And
excited.
you're a part of my team, Team Allen. We are there.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications on when new content is released. And we are continuing to talk about access. Mm-hmm. And this week, we're going to be talking about trust.
Trust. Now, I always feel like trust is like the front door.
Trust is the front door.
It's like the front door. Like I said, like, are you really getting in? That's how you know, like, if you're making progress in any kind of relationship, because you always kind of start out on the outer boundaries. Mm-hmm. But if somebody's willing to open the door, like open the door of our hearts, open the door of our minds, like you said, that's when you move in the right direction. And so, like you said, trust is definitely a very, what did you call it, a key configuration when you build in a house.
Yeah.
Because when we in relationships, that's what we're building. Especially when we're with our forever person, we're building a house. And even when you're dating or courting, you're deciding if this is the person you want to build your house with.
Yeah, and trust is one of these things and we're going to talk about trust economics in a different episode. But trust is very hard to build, but very easy to break.
Yes.
It's very fragile because it takes many, many acts in order to establish trust. But one or two of the wrong acts can completely break a trust situation.
Absolutely.
In the business world, especially in the technical world, as you assign people access, there are levels of trust that allow you to get into certain places. And usually that requires that someone is vouching for you. Someone says, this person is supposed to get into this place, or this person is trustworthy.
Yeah.
Therefore, they can have access to these things, these resources, these computer systems, these programs, or whatever have you. It's the same way in our lives, in a sense that through our acts, we build up trust with our forever person or the person we're dating. They start to see our behavior. They start to see the consistency in our behavior. Yeah. And then they believe that they can trust that we will do the right thing without being seen. And
Absolutely.
that's really what trust is about. You doing the right thing when you're not being watched. So,
How many of us do that?
I think if we're honest, I don't know if everybody does that 100% of the time. Right. I try to always do the right thing, even when it hurts.
Yeah.
But I can't say that I've always done that all my life.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things that as I've gotten closer to God, realizing that even when nobody else is watching, God is always watching.
Yeah.
And so therefore, whether or not someone else sees me or can find out, my Father knows, I know you made the wrong decision. I know you were about to try to claim somebody else's kid on your taxes. Right. I know what you're trying to do over there. I know you're trying to, do the sneak game over there. That money belongs to somebody. Don't pick it up and say you was blessed. Go ahead, find them and give it back. And those types of acts have afforded me, I get a little bit of a reputation of a Boy Scout and a straight arrow because, but it also sets a tone. People generally don't bring me no mess, right? They don't bring me no shady stuff, right?
I can vouch for that. I can definitely vouch for that.
They don't call me when it's time to do shady stuff because they know that I'm gonna spoil the game. I'm gonna bring all the cold water.
He bring cold water even when you're not trying to do shady stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I can bring him an idea, and before I know it, it's like wham wham. I'm like, okay, let me go back to the drawing board.
I mean, you pay the price because you're not seen as cool. When the scheme is going down, nobody wants to bring you into the fold when the scheme is going down.
That is true.
But the benefit I have is I don't have to look over my shoulder for anything.
That is true.
I don't worry about stuff. My stuff is generally above board. Yeah. So I'm not thinking about it after the fact.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's real talk. That's real talk. I think that kind of leads us to our scripture. Psalm 37:5, it says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him and he will act. I mean, just that first part, commitment. I mean, it's whatever I'm getting ready to commit, I have to first commit my way.
Yeah.
Didn't say his way.
Right.
Commit my way to the Lord, because we all have a way. And so now what I got to be able to say is kind of like, even when we're in relationships, I have to be committed to the relationship. You know, that's why the trust in him is second.
Yeah.
Because before I didn't even decide whether or not I'm going to trust you, I now have to decide if I'm committed to a second date. I'm committed to going further in this thing, because now once I'm committed to it, now that's when the trust starts to come in. So it's like I said, I like this. I like the scripture, because like I say, even when we get saved, I'm committing my way to God.
Yeah.
Now I can trust in him, because now I'm learning more about him. I can, and now I know that he will act. I like that too, because my expectation is that he's going to act well on my behalf, that he's not going to do anything that will make me now not trust him.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny too, because once we, you know, commit ourselves to that walk, and it's amazing. I just remember being, you know, sort of young, and you start to see God show up in various situations, whether it's your own or someone else's. And you're like, wow, this God is real. This God is serious. I mean, this is real stuff. These are real miracles. These are real manifestations.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, your trust in him begins to rise.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you start to really understand is there are times where it's not that God doesn't show up. God's will may be that you just don't get that thing for that time.
Right.
And you have to lean back on that trust when the answer may be no.
And that's why, like you said, it's fragile.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, like you said, if we're honest, like I said, it's even fragile for us to even at moments to trust God.
Yeah. Yeah. So that gets us into sort of the first section of the discussion. We've got 3 sections in the discussion. First thing is just, you know, are we just, you know, we're going to add a different suffix on each one of these, but are we intellectually honest about our ability to trust, and then fill in the blank, right? And the first one is God.
Yeah.
Are we intellectually honest about our ability to trust God? Right? And when we work with couples sometimes, I start out and I ask the question, do you trust God with your spouse? Do you trust God with your forever person? And it perplexes them, because in our Christian culture, we want to respond to the affirmative. We want to be able to, you know, say the right Christian thing so that we look like good Christians. But then our behavior starts to tell a different story.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when we were actually married. And I was at my job. And so we were, you know, like most people do, they have conversations at lunchtime. And so it was some single women, and they were just talking. We were having this conversation about trust. And so somebody said, hey, you know, do you trust Andre not to cheat on you? I said, absolutely, I do. It's like, well, how can you have that level of trust? I said, because his offense wouldn't be to me first. I said his offense would be to God. I said, so he would have to answer to God first. So I trust God that he will handle that before it even got to me. So I said, so I don't worry about what he's going to do. I don't check his phone. I don't do any of those things. I said, because I know that he has a relationship with God, and if he was going to make that decision to do that, then God would handle him.
You know, and that's amazing. And one, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because, you know, once again, be real. You're young and married. Your thoughts are not always positive, right? Your thoughts are not always, and it's very easy to fall into the influences of others, right? My earpiece keeps falling out. It's very easy to keep falling into the influences of others, especially when you have other women in relationships or other men in relationships and they're not successful. So every young lady that's telling you, why do you trust him? You know, there's probably a young man in my ear saying, well, where's your side? You know, everybody got something on the side.
Absolutely.
You know, there's nothing wrong with a little something on the side, you know. And it's wild, because you can give into those influences, and the next thing you know, you've blown the trust in your relationship. You know, and the damage from that is far reaching.
Yeah.
We've watched the damage from mistrust last from one offense. That damage maintain itself for years.
Absolutely.
Beyond the offense.
Yeah.
To the point where it's still a wound that's being resolved in
Yeah.
certain couples today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like you said, we were young in marriage, and like I said, even being having that level of a conversation, even they were like shocked at that, because once again,
Yeah.
that's not the prevailing thought
That's not,
of like,
yeah.
okay, you need to be watching, you stupid, you shouldn't be trusting nobody like that. But I trust God. That's all I got. If I don't trust God, then what
Exactly.
else is it?
But that is so, when they say hurt people, that is the example of that, right? Because what you have is probably, you have young ladies who were probably hurt by some young man, and they developed this mechanism to protect themselves. Because let's be real, when and everybody's been messed around on, right?
Oh
Everybody's
yeah,
had somebody that was not unfaithful in a boyfriend girlfriend
absolutely.
relationship or
Yeah,
whatever have you, right?
absolutely.
And you go through a wave of emotions. You feel that you're foolish because obviously there's folks around that seem to know about this other relationship, and you were naive to it. You were wondering whether you knew the signs or could observe the signs. You feel stupid, right? You feel betrayed, and you also feel unprotected. You
Oh
feel
yeah.
you feel like nobody's protecting me but me, right? So
Yeah.
now I have to take matters into my own hands to protect myself from this hurt and embarrassment again.
Yeah.
So now I have to watch the phone. I got to watch his behavior. I got to look for these things. And unfortunately, that is a very negative self-feeding cycle, because you are in a mode where you're looking for evidence of a presupposition. Right? You've presupposed that there's guilt. Now you're looking for evidence of guilt, and you
Yeah.
will find it, right? Whether it's there or not. And you won't even be able to see evidence of positive things because you're so fixated on the evidence of guilt.
But I think that's why we're starting with, are we intellectually honest about our ability to trust God? Because if I trust God, even when it's messed up,
Yeah.
I still have to believe that God is still going to work it out.
Yeah.
So so once again, when you trust in God, it's not just with relationships, it's with money, it's with provision, it's with all of those things. And let's just be honest, everything don't always go the way we want it to
It
go,
does
even
not.
with God.
It does not.
But I still have to, at the end of the day, trust God. And I think, like, when we get into relationships, like I say, even when we start dating, God is not normally like the top.
No,
He's
it's
not
not
at the top of the list.
No, we're trying
when
to
we
find a
start
husband.
dating.
We're trying to find a person.
Let's just be honest.
This
We're
lady
not
got-
really asking God, is this the, because sometimes, we just say everybody for me. God is
Right.
like, everybody is not
For
for
you.
you.
Right.
They're not.
Right. And we're looking at the attractiveness, the curves, he
Absolutely.
smelled good, she looked good. We'll be a power couple. That's the thing now. Everybody wants to be a power
Yeah.
couple, right? So you fall in love with the image of being this couple on the move, doing these things, and you start to envision what life will be like, kids, college, all those things. And you kind of miss this process of trusting God to develop a trustworthy relationship
Yeah.
between you and this person.
That's real talk. Because, like you said, because God can also tell you, be like, yeah, that's not that person.
That's not the person.
And then you still busy trying to
Match the image.
And we've all done that.
Yeah,
Let's just be honest. Andre wasn't my first relationship, because, my mom used to say to me all the time, girl, you love everybody. You think everybody your person, and they weren't, because once again, I'm fantasizing about what I think love is and how it's all supposed to work. And to be quite honest, I wasn't even asking God about it. Andre came into my life now he had been in my life before, but I kept like brushing him off. But he had really came into my life at a very critical moment where I had decided to what that scripture says at the beginning, commit my way to the Lord. I was now saying I was in this process of rededicating myself to God. And so when Andre asked me out, I'm sure that during that first conversation, he's probably like, I don't know where we're going with this. But I said yes, because there were previous times Andre was chasing me for like 2 years. But in all the other times, I was just blowing him off. But I also wasn't in that space of like, okay, I really want to do it God's way type of deal. But like I said, it was that moment when I was ready to commit my way to God that everything just kind of kind of fell into place. Like I said, when we first started dating, I didn't know you were going to be my forever person, but God did say to me, "Hey, this is your forever person." So it made that path. It opened it up for me. So like you said, when we talk about the door,
Yeah.
it opened up that door of trust. So first I just had to trust that God was saying, okay, this is the one for you. And even that process wasn't always easy.
No, it wasn't.
We've definitely had our share of ups and downs. And like, okay, like I said, before we even celebrated our first year of marriage, I was like, we can get a divorce.
Right.
So once again, what does that look like, trusting God when God says this is your forever person?
Yeah.
But once again, we've just had to work through some things. But where I always came back and landed was, I'm like, okay, God would always say to me, what did I say?
Yeah.
I said, this is your person. So when we talk about being intellectually honest about our ability to trust God, it's, do you know what God said about you and this person, and your level of commitment to that person?
Yeah. And it's okay if you don't have that sensitivity yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Connect with somebody that you trust spiritually to develop it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can't hear on our own, whether it's a pastor or a trusted person in your life, an auntie, a grandma that prays for you. If you really want to begin to learn how to trust God, find somebody that has some mastery in this area and sit with them on how you develop this capability for yourself. Because sometimes we can't trust, and we're going to get into trusting ourselves.
And I'm glad you said that, because once again, that kind of goes back to what my mom said. Like, okay, like even though she said it, she was probably like shading me, like, girl, don't trust yourself, because all these jokers you bring in here, I don't believe you about any of them.
Right.
Maybe I'm not the best person to choose for me.
Right. Joker number 50 here. Joker number 50 that managed to hold on. I pulled my little tag from the thing, from the Joker number. Now selecting Joker number 50.
I laugh now when my mom said, now I wasn't like happy when she said it at first. When I came up, I was like, "Oh, Mom, Andre's the one." She was like,
They all the one.
Right. That's what she said. So, which once again begs the question of, can I trust myself to choose the one that's going to be for me? Because once again, when you choosing, you think you choosing the right one.
Yeah.
You don't think you choosing somebody bad. It just, and so once again, and you know how like we like to do, oh, I got a type, or, or whatever. And so once again, like you said, sometimes we have to be okay with knowing that maybe I shouldn't trust myself.
Right.
If all my relationships turn out the same way, then, like you said, maybe I do, like you said, a trusted person, somebody that, gets a little bit more insight to say, well, you know what, maybe you're just not the best person to choose for yourself.
Yeah, this is what your spiritual family is for.
Yeah.
They're there to cover your rear guard. They could see your flaws. They see your upsides. Not only that, if we trust God, like we asked in the first thing, he can start to reveal to people, especially people that are prayed up, the things that we need to complement us.
Absolutely.
Because it's not necessarily about a type, because what if the type you want, the type you want is not the type you need.
That is real talk right there.
You may like a certain cut of the chest and whatever, but the guy you need may have a pot belly, but he is a financial wizard.
Right. Exactly.
That's what she got. But
here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
No, I'm just joking. But no, really, it's and as we've learned, the physical stuff is fleeting, right?
It is.
I consider myself a gray fox these days, but I was not always, I didn't have the gray hair back then, right? I had a few more hairs up here, right? I don't have those anymore, right?
His glow up is amazing.
I'm just working the other side of 50 as best as I can, right?
He working it. Okay, but this is not about me. I'm just letting y'all know.
I'm working it as best as I can, right? But no, those things change over time. I don't look like I did when we first got together. I don't. Right?
I feel like I look the same. My hair do. I'm like, why?
You do, and that's a blessing, right? You didn't age, right? You're pretty much the same girl, right? It's like so I'm blessed in that regard, right? It's like you're not don't have wrinkles everywhere and face ain't sagging or whatever, same face. Right. So, but even still, as we get older, those things are going to change too.
Yeah.
right? But still, I go back to, do I know that God made you for me and me for
Yeah.
you? I say yes, right? So the looks are inconsequential, right there. And as we get older, I see more of the person inside than outside, right? So, and no matter how you look, you still look like the woman I fell in love with, right? So it doesn't change for me.
And I think too, the other thing about, like you said, being intellectually honest about trusting ourselves is, it's like asking yourself those questions. Am I ready
Yeah.
to be in a relationship?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm like just came off of something bad or whatever. Sometimes I just can't be in a relationship because I just know I'm not ready. I just got some stuff that I need to fix
Yeah.
about me. And even when you're married, you still have to ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Because like you said, when you marry, things happen. We just kind of had this discussion about, like you said, there's still some people in my life that I now have to figure out, okay, because things have happened. Now I'm second guessing about, okay, what my next move should be with these people, because now I'm like, well, I thought I was making the right decision, but now since I've seen some things happen, I now don't have full confidence in my own decision making. And so I now have to step back and say, okay, God, help me to kind of fix that, because I want to be able to trust this person, but I know I don't trust them right now, at least not fully. I'm not saying I don't 100% trust them, but I feel like whenever there's, it's kind of like a little leaven just messes up the whole piece of bread.
Yeah.
That to me is how trust is. It's like, I think God wants us to fully trust. That to me is the commitment level. And so when I don't trust you a little, now I have to start with me.
Yeah.
Because what we like to do is start with the other person. But once again, I have to be able to ask myself, like, okay, why am I not trusting the way I was before?
And the evidence of that too is when you continue to look to the other person to do the right thing, and they just can't seem to do the right thing, and you can't tell them what to do.
Right.
You just don't know, because right now you're in this place where it feeds into that first symptom that I talked about. When you get into this place where it's just like, I'm looking for the negative evidence. Now I don't trust myself when I make decisions. So I don't even know if I'm being made a fool of again, right?
Yeah.
So this is feeding that whole beast, right? I don't know if I'm being made a fool of again. I can't describe how to get out of this tornado that I'm in of mistrust. So now it just ends up in anger and frustration and lashing out and all of these things, And so this is where it's really important that you're able to ask yourself those questions, pull back.
Yeah.
Really start to dig into your prayer life, really start to find good spiritual guidance. And I'm not even beyond saying some of your issues may require professional psychological help.
Absolutely.
Because some of this stuff, believe it or not, there are spectrum issues for these types of hurts and trauma, right? Because if you're not in a place, because here's the real deal, that the person that may have broken you or may have hurt you, that hurt stays with you. And now you're going to take your behavior to the next relationship, and not only is it going to manifest in the next relationship, it may manifest with friends and family, because now you are looking at the world through a lens of a hurt heart posture. And so now any behavior that looks a little bit untoward is going to go into this bucket of, I got to now protect myself.
Because I like what you're saying, because when you don't trust, you now, like you said, you now automatically move into protection mode.
Yeah. So then, trusting others.
That's an interesting one, because once again, like I said, it's like once I move from the God to ourselves, like I said, I find it easy to trust other people.
Yeah, you trust everybody.
Right, that's what he says about me all the time. But once again, that's why now I have to step back and be like, okay, should I trust everybody?
All you got to say to Lana is, Jesus is changing my heart.
Right.
And then you can ask her for money right after that, and
like,
she'll more than likely give it to you, right? And you'll get 2 or 3 turns at the wheel with that before she decides, maybe I shouldn't give you any more money.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, okay, babe, this person is using the Lord to get your pocketbook.
Right.
But no, it is. It's others can be hard, right? Because we all have the lens of hurt and trauma. We all have experiences, and I try not to judge the world based upon what's happened to me, but I also have discernment about things, and I've learned lessons. Right, when people say in the Bible, "Don't judge me," right? That's not biblical. It's very much a biblical thing to cast judgment. It's not biblical to condemn people. Right, you can't put people in heaven or hell or whatever, but the Bible calls you to make judgments.
Yeah.
And we only dislike negative judgments, right? Because if I say, "Man, you look like a trustworthy person. Here's $1,000." Hallelujah, right? Praise the Lord. Run around the church, da, 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 right?
Right.
But if I say something like, "You don't know how to manage money. Well, how dare you judge me? Only my God could judge
Right.
me."
It's like, you really don't know.
But you really don't, So.
And that's a really big piece, like you said. And, now most people don't talk about that when they dating, how do you manage your money? But that should be a conversation that you're talking about. Because we're talking about also our forever person. And the reason why this is so key is because one of the things that you said, trust is a process.
Yeah.
And so you have to start with God.
You do.
You have to be able to you have to be intellectually honest about how much you trust yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have those first two on lock,
you're not going to trust anybody else.
Then you're not going to trust nobody else.
You're not going to trust anybody else.
It's going to be literally impossible to do that.
Because you don't know how to look for the positive things.
Absolutely.
And trust is kind of like love. You don't flip a switch and fall in love with somebody. What happens is one kind word one day, one kind act the next day, one special moment, one soft conversation one day in the park, and through the series of events, you find yourself in love.
Yeah, you do.
Right. And the same thing with trust. It's just like, through behavior, acts, situations, whatever. You look up, something happens. It's just like, oh, Andre wouldn't do that. Or, that's not Lana's character, right? And trust has now manifested itself because now I have a belief system around what I believe you'll do, even when I'm not looking. Right?
And what I love too is what I'm thinking about is like trust. Also, there's maintenance.
Yeah.
Around trust. So, like I said, remember we're building a house, and so once again, in a house, there are things that you just have to maintain. So sometimes, like you said, even trust, like I said, remember how I said you start out like at 100%, but now something's happened where now it's like, okay, I don't trust you as much and that could just be in one area. Yeah. It doesn't mean it has to be something terrible. Like you said, I don't trust you with the money anymore right. or whatever. But let's work on that.
Yeah.
Let's not just throw away the whole relationship because now I have issues with you with money. Let's figure out how we fix that piece.
And sometimes the way to build trust is just acknowledging you're weak in a certain area,
Right. Exactly.
It's like, look, I'm not good with handling our budget,
yes.
right? You put the budget in my hands, it's going to get spent.
But that goes back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Are you able to be trusted with our money?
Yeah.
Can you honestly say that when you're doing the money that it's working out?
No, yeah. And I know for our relationship, when it comes to our household budget, no, it ain't me, right?
Right.
It needs to be you.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that because I know my give-ins.
Yeah. But that's why I like to, like you said, when you're having that conversation, like I said, I am definitely an advocate of premarital counseling.
Yeah.
Good premarital counseling, not just somebody who's going to just ask you general questions,
yeah.
but good premarital counseling really ask you those deep questions. So that way, before you say I do, you and your person can now be able to have those levels of discussions about money, about kids, all those things where you do have to have trust. Yeah. I need to make sure I can leave my kids with you. Yeah. I need to make sure that, like you said, if you're the what you call it, when y'all play the video, if you're the video game guru, I don't know if I want to leave my kids with you.
Right.
If I can't trust you to pick up stuff, like you said, and we just dating and your car is junky, I never let Andre drive in my car because he probably wouldn't have dated me. He'd be like, this chick can't pick up nothing. God knew.
Well, I think the next episode we're going to get into these trust economics
Yes, we
component of
are.
it, because that's how we, once again, the whole building of trust,
Absolutely.
withdrawals from trust accounts, and how we build those things up, and the grace that comes along with building trust.
Yes.
It's one of these things. It's a lifelong process.
It is. It's a lifelong process.
And these are mindsets, tools, and skills that not only apply to your relationship or your current relationship with your forever person or pursuit of the forever person, but these are friends, family, associates, business partners, all of this, because your trust mindset is going to follow you no matter where you go. The trust. Go ahead.
And what I love about this is that this is the basis for which you can always come back to.
Yeah.
Do I trust God? Do I trust myself? And how am I trusting others? Because those first two are going to always play on how I'm trusting others. And so, like I said, so if you ever in any doubt, like you said, check the first two boxes first before you start talking about why you don't trust the other people. Check the first two. And then you'll get more clarity on what to do about the last box.
Because if we're not trusting God, then basically what you're saying is, maybe I'm in this relationship with this person because I didn't trust God to reveal to me the person, or maybe the people around me knew what was going on, but I wasn't listening. Maybe I didn't listen to my own inner voice.
Yeah.
Which is there. Excuse me. Getting over a little bit of bronchitis, so I apologize for the coughing. But no, this was good.
Yeah, this was good.
This was a good episode. God, ourselves, and others. Are we intellectually honest about our ability to trust? Now we want to hear from you. So we'd like to hear from you in the comments below about your ability to trust, or just insights about this conversation. What do you think about trust? What are your opinions of trust? Did you learn anything new about trust from this discussion? Are there any insights about trust that you may have that we're not seeing? We'd love your feedback to be able to talk about it when we come back and talk about more trust issues, specifically trust economics. Remember, like the video, share this video with somebody.
Please do.
Please share this video with somebody. This is important. Subscribe to the channel, and then make sure you
Ring the bell.
there you go. Okay, make sure you ring the bell. I thought you were gonna come in on time, but ring.
I was thinking of something else. Sorry. Take two.
Take two. Right now, we're gonna do this one take. There's all staying in the thing. So,
Right, sorry.
all right, y'all. Well, Safehouse, that is it for this episode.
That is it. We love you guys
We
so
love
much.
you
We
all.
appreciate you guys always tuning in and just supporting what God has given us.
Yeah. Continue to support the channel, safeandhouse@gmail.com. You can also hear this on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music as a podcast if you want to hear this in your car and not necessarily watch our lovely faces.
We understand.
But we understand. That's all we
We
got.
just want you to get the message.
We just want
it's all coming from God.
It's good content. It's good content.
content. So
All right, Safehouse, we love you.
we love you guys.
Peace.